Turntable Teachers, and class is officially back in session. We got another Right Mind section of the podcast, and we're back with Hex for round 2 of mixing tips with Hex. We did EQing vocals last time, and today we're going to do some reverb for you guys. So I'm super excited. Something that I really enjoy. I actually want to learn more about, to be honest, because it's something that fascinates me throughout music and in general. So so we're here back with Hex. Hex, how are you, man?
Good. I'm chilling.
Just had a guest speaker episode with Hex a few weeks back, so anybody that missed that, make sure you check that out. And yeah, make sure you guys check out as well our episode 1 of this mini-series where we're going to be having Hex on the show periodically, probably once every month or so. And he's going to give us a new mixing and sound engineering tip. So like I said, today's is going to be reverb. He's going to take us through that today. And yeah, without further ado, Hex is going to take us through the reverb.
Alrighty. So first off, I don't know if anybody who's watching heard the last episode we had, so I'm just gonna play a little chunk of the song. I'll start to where my vocals come in, just so you can hear how it sounds.
So passionate, but is it worth it? All these thoughts in my mind, and I don't think I'll see the 30. These visions blurry. It's 2020, but I can't see who hurts me. The mirror curtsies. Can't fade away. Wanna smile, but I can't feel my face. Every day that I wake, I'm okay, but in the end, I be lost in the days. I can't breathe for a minute. I can't dream when I live it. I can't believe that I did it. I am enough. Yeah, I know I'm different. Not a positive.
Yeah, so basically, so we went over EQ last time, so just carving out the tone of the vocal, and it kind of good. It's good that we went over that first, because when talking about reverb and effects like that, it's important to utilize EQ to also carve out the shape and the tone of your effects too, which is a big thing a lot of people don't do, is they kind of just throw the effect on and just think that they're done. But that's not really the case. So to start off, let me just do this little section here. Okay, so the way Logic is, every DAW is different. DAW can be Logic, Pro Tools, Ableton, FL Studio, all those softwares for making music. The way Logic is over here or in the mixer is another view of looking at it. So this little strip right here is taking care of this track that I have highlighted this folder I have highlighted right here that encompasses all of my lead vocals.
Can't fade away. Wanna smile, but I can't feel my face.
So when you're listening, there's a lot of dancing effects and a lot of reverb and stuff like that when you're listening to just the vocal. You don't really hear all that stuff like right in your face when the beat's there, as you can tell.
Can't fade away. Wanna smile, but I can't feel my face.
All of those effects sound like more like echoes and just ear candy rather than like things you're looking for in the vocal. It's more of a feeling thing. So that's the goal here. So sorry, I kind of got sidetracked explaining that, but basically back to the way Logic is. So over here is all my plugins. And then here are things called sends. So I'll briefly, in like 2 minutes, explain what sends are. So the way it goes is, it starts at the top, okay? So you have the input of this is bus 8. So this is the vocal that is the main vocal.
Can't fade away, wanna smile, but...
So all that vocal has on it is auto-tune. So basically what that would sound like is this, just with nothing else on it.
Can't fade away, wanna smile, but I can't feel my face.
So then that audio, after putting that plugin on, so that's the auto-tuned vocal, it goes through bus 8, which basically is just you're just pretty much you're sending it to this folder so then you can do these effects right here all to this track with just the auto-tune and this track with auto-tune and a couple other effects I have, so that you can affect all of them at once instead of like copying pasting the plugins. It can just do it all in one. So now all these plugins right here, I just disabled the other ones. All these main plugins right here in this main strip take care of shaping the vocal without effects. And when I say effects, I mean like creative effects, like reverb, delay, things like that. Those are more like spacious things, but this stuff is more for the tone of the vocal. It's compression, EQ, saturation, like to give the vocal more grit, things like that. You want to add these here. When it comes to reverb and delay, you want to use them as aux tracks or sends, quote unquote. So what those are is, so this vocal went to bus 8 and then to a folder, so that through bus 8. So then these plugins would affect this vocal also. But the ascend, the thing with ascend is it sends it to a separate auxiliary track, so a separate audio track that you can't place audio on. Like I can move this audio around. You can't do that with an aux track, but you can do it with these regular tracks here. So an aux track is basically like a separate track. It's like a copy of it. So it's really confusing, but just bear with me. So if I turn this on, right, it says it's bus 10. So basically this vocal right here that came from bus 8 and from here, so this is all the same audio. It goes through all these plugins and then hits this to bus 10. And then this auxiliary track right here, which is down here, its input is bus 10. So this sending a copy of this vocal out to bus 10, meaning that it's sending a copy of this vocal to this Reverb track right here. So it's copying the vocal. So essentially if I had, and it's only sending negative 14 dB instead of the full signal. So it's only sending a percentage of it. So I can send more or less of the vocal to that track. So if I shut all these plugins off on this aux track, right, it's just going to be the vocal you hear here, except I can affect how much of it.
Can't fade away, wanna smile but I can't feel my face. Every day that I wake I'm okay, but in the end I be can't fade away.
So it's just a copy, and then here is how you affect how much of this copy how much of the original you're sending over to the copy. But since it's a copy, you can then add effects at full strength, like reverb right here. Let me shut these other things off. So I have it soloed right here.
Smile but I can't feel.
So that's basically just reverb, no lead vocal. So then you use this knob to affect how much reverb you want. And so now I could take this plugin and put it over here and then use one of the knobs, use this knob right here to affect how much and like how much blend I want with the lead vocal and reverb. So the higher up it is, the more reverb and less lead vocal. The lower it is, the more lead vocal, less reverb. But instead of doing that, I just crank it all the way up and send it through a copy so that this lead vocal isn't getting turned down at all when we use more reverb. It's just saying the exact same. It's staying static, and it's just making a copy of it and just reverberating the copy instead of reverberating the original. Mike, you lost. You got me.
I'm with you. I'm just taking it all in. I'm just
I
taking
know.
it all in.
I know it's when you start talking about buses and sends, is super weird terminology like that. It gets confusing, but
Right. I feel like there's a sense of like I was talking to you about this a little earlier before we started. I feel like you asked me like, oh, what should we do today? I'm like, I have no idea. I don't know the verbiage. You know what I'm saying? Like I know certain things but when you say something like reverb, that is something that I do know. But like you said, these other terms like bus, send. I guess just maybe a question for me, maybe somebody that is very more ignorant to this kind of stuff. What is bus and send? I mean, a send kind of makes sense to me, but does bus stand for anything potentially?
So a send is just like an area of the strip right here. So like
Okay.
like these are sends and these are inserts.
Okay.
But like meaning like it's like how you name like the type of slot it is.
I see.
Like what you can actually put there. So you can only put plugins here, so it's called an insert because you're inserting plugins. Right. But right here you can only use buses because you're sending things to a bus. That's why they're called sends, is because you're sending to a bus.
Okay.
As far as buses, you bus, meaning that if you had 5 children, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they're all taking math class. They live in separate houses, but they have to get to the same math class. So a bus takes them to the same math class to teach them the same thing. You understand that?
Yes. Well, you're putting it into terminology that makes sense to me, so I appreciate that.
That's the best way to describe it. So a bus is basically just the transportation from one track to another.
Great. Okay.
Yeah. Good so, like I said, I'll go back to this now that might make a little bit more sense. This lead vocal right here is just what it is with auto-tune. Yes. It has no other effects on it. Then I'm sending it to bus 8, and then bus 8, it's being carried by bus 8 from this track to higher up in the hierarchy. So it's encompassing not only just this track, but these other 3 tracks too.
Okay.
So then when I put all these effects on it, it's affecting every single one of these 4 tracks at the same exact time.
I see. Yes, that makes sense.
And then I have when I solo this, I have
can't fade away. Wanna smile, but I can't feel my face.
Driest of the dry vocal. There's no effects. Like when I say effects, I meant like spatial effects, like reverb, delay, things like that.
Reverb.
Now, if you want to add those, you just using a bus, you send the dry audio you send a percentage of the dry audio out to an auxiliary track, which is this Reverb track that I made. And here is where, like I said, it's just a smaller percentage of a copy.
Can't fade away.
So it's just quiet because I'm only sending a partial percentage of this over as a copy. And then I'm putting reverb on that track at full capacity, so it's strictly reverb, no dry vocal. So then it has that reverb sound. Now when I unsolo it, and then I just solo the vocal that includes the reverb, you can hear the blend together.
Can't fade away. Wanna smile, but I can't feel.
I see.
So that's both of them together.
Or here.
Yeah. So now if I want to add, if I want to add more reverb, I can do this.
Can't fade away. Wanna smile, but I can't feel my face. Every day that I wake, I'm okay, but in the end, I be can't fade away.
And you try to find a balance using that little knob right there to pretty much determine how much of the original dry vocal you're sending into the reverb.
Yes.
Instead of turning this reverb track up and down, you just determine how much you're sending to it. So that's the essence of creating a reverb instead of just slapping it on.
Got it. Is there a rule of thumb that you have in terms of how much reverb you're using on a certain vocal, or does it depend upon the type of track and the effect you're going for?
Yeah. So all right. So when you go for more R&B tracks, more melodic, stuff like that, it's less in your face and more backed in and like more wrapped around by the beat. The beat hugs the vocal more. If you've noticed, like in rap vocals, like rap, meaning like hardcore, like lyrical rap with like no melody. It's more in your face and aggressive. So there's less. They might use a smaller reverb, so it sounds like they're in a smaller room, and it might be tucked way in the back in volume, like really low. But with these, I use a 2 second delay. Decay. So basically, it's like, see how it says large church?
Mm-hmm.
So it's basically emulating like you're in a large church, like a church hall. And then what this does is that means it has a longer decay. Now I can take this decay knob and turn it up, and you can listen. The reverb will go on. So like it takes
Really lingering.
Yeah. It's like 6.25 seconds to actually decay out and fade away. Haha. But but I set it to 2.0 something. I don't know. I just I just was listening and just
Listen.
Yeah, it's less about numbers and more like what sounds good.
Right.
That's the biggest tip, obviously, in audio. So I just set it around 2 seconds because that sounded good to me. And then the other knob that I turned on this was pre-delay, which is basically when you're in a tunnel or you're in one of these churches, right? When you yell, the voice doesn't the reverb of in the room doesn't just happen as you're yelling at the exact same moment. Your voice has to bounce off the walls first and has to bounce back into your ears for you to hear the echo and hear the pre-delay of the reverb. So if I put the pre-delay at 0, you probably won't really notice much of a difference, but it sounds less natural.
Can't fade away, wanna smile but I can't feel my face.
But if I turn it up,
can't fade away, wanna smile but I can't feel my
Yep.
So I had it down like around 3 milliseconds. When I mixed this song, I was less worried about pre-delay, but now I really dial in pre-delay based on like math. So I actually have my own plugin that I coded, which is funny. Yeah, I don't know why it's called Your Company, but I made a reverb calculator. So basically, you just type in the BPM. So this is 165. And then you choose your type of reverb. So for this, it's like a large plate, which is usually like those like
can't fade away.
And it says the pre-delay should be around 22 milliseconds and the decay should be 1.4 seconds. So I did a little longer of a decay and I did a little short of a pre-delay when I was mixing this song. So the song still came out fine without the exact measurements.
Right.
But those calculations are what makes it sound as close to real life as it probably would.
Interesting.
So
Wow.
Yeah, that's what I usually use now is that plugin. So yeah, any other questions you have so far? I'm going to go over these why I added these two other plugins.
Yeah, definitely. No, I'm just kind of amazed at, I guess, how like the way you're explaining it to me, like using the church example, the hallway, and then the busing, like it all kind of makes sense when you think about it, right? Like if you're not like you're right, because it does take, when you're echoing, it does take however many milliseconds or seconds for it to bounce back. So you're almost trying to emulate that in a song, but how it is in real life. I don't know. I just find some of the connections very interesting, like that it actually does connect to how we interpret sound as like human beings, like in real life.
It's like that. The reason why having a higher pre-delay like that with big reverbs sounds the best is because that's what we hear in real life.
Mm-hmm.
I saw a YouTube video and it was like stuck on reverb. Listen in real life. It's like instead of diving deep into like the knobs in your DAW, you should just go outside and be like, okay, like in what areas does my voice sound like this? You know,
right.
Like I can take a reverb plugin and make it sound like you're in a bathroom, because in real life I know what it sounds like being in like a tile bathroom.
Mm-hmm.
And I know, because I know how to use the software and I've been practicing with it, I know what knobs to turn to make that sound. So it's good to actually like observe real life situations, because that's why people like certain things in music, for sure.
Super cool.
Yeah.
Really
So
cool.
the other thing, what is this delay? Double. Okay, cool. So yeah, all right, back to this. So like I said, this Reverb track is literally just a copy of um, of the lead dry vocal. Now, before hitting the reverb, right? So again, this is what it sounds like, the copy of it.
Can't fade away. Wanna smile, but I can't feel my face.
Alrighty, so then I have this plugin right here, which is a de-esser. So I have it on my lead vocal, which is funny. Oh wait, do I even have it on there? Oh yeah, I do at the end. So this basically takes down the S's. So as you can see,
Can't fade.
oh wait, no, I'll use this example actually. So
Okay.
I have, they're two different plugins from different companies, but they do essentially the same thing. They just take the S's in your vocal when you're recording, and they just pull them down to like smooth them out, because S's can be really sharp and hurt the listener's ears. So you want to make sure those are smooth. So basically, all I did was I took one of the presets, which was like high cut split band. So it's basically like the frequency range that your voice says in S.
Hmm.
It basically just drops it all the way down when the S is hit. So it like waits for the S to hit, and then it snatches it and pulls it down in volume. So I cranked this all the way up. So it's 100% wet. None of the before vocal is involved. It's only after the de-esser is engaged. So it's like complete de-essing. And I put the amount knob all the way up because I wanted to make sure there were no S's. I wanted to sound like I had a lisp. So
Can't fade away. Wanna smile, but I can't feel my face. Every day.
if you can hear that versus
Can't fade away. Wanna smile, but I can't.
the word smile, you can really hear it.
Can't fade away. Wanna smile, but I can't.
The S's will duck out. So the reason why you want that before your reverb is if you listen to the word smile with the reverb, it's like, and it's like a wave of like high annoying frequencies, and that can be apparent in a song when you don't want it to be. Like when a really loud S happens in the song, it'll just like ripple through the whole song, with the reverb will ripple like that, and you don't want that. So I usually put a de-esser before my reverb and smash the hell out of it, so there's the S's are completely smoothed out with no sharpness whatsoever before the reverb, so it's like smooth. And then after that, back to an EQ. I put an EQ to take out the really high frequencies, because the human ear only hears really high frequencies when you're facing the person and you're close to them, when you're like talking to someone. So like if you've ever noticed when you talk to someone, and if I turn around like this, all the high frequencies in my voice are gone. All the high frequencies in my voice really go away because I'm not facing the microphone, or in real life I wouldn't be facing you. I would be facing away. Because reverb is just a reflection, there's not a lot of very high crystal clear frequencies. It's more like washed out. So I filter those out here. And then same thing with low frequencies. There's not a lot of body in my vocal. So these low frequencies down here wouldn't exist in the bounce back in real life. So I cut those out too. However, they're around this range right here, like the 63 to like 250, there would be, but I don't want those because I'm trying to use this tool right here, the EQ, to blend the reverbed copy of my vocal with the dry copy. So my dry copy right here had a lot of buildup in this frequency area. So if I didn't cut it out, the reverb and the lead vocal would clash and wouldn't sound very meshed together. It would just sound like they're smashing together, and they would be in each other's way. But in order to make space for that lead and really let it sit up front, I just took a huge band and just pulled it down. As you can see, I pulled down a ton right here. So I'll boost this and show what I was taking out. To see how it's like wicked thin now.
Mm-hmm.
That was the goal I was
Nice.
going for, because the lead vocal, if you can hear that area, like that body, it already has good body under it.
Can't fade away, wanna smile but I can't feel my face.
So if I also had that, it would be a disaster. It would sound very messy.
Mm-hmm.
If I take that off, you could hear.
Can't fade away, wanna smile but I can't feel my face.
And then with it,
Can't fade away, wanna smile but I can't feel my face.
so the reverb is lighter in the background instead of being so heavy. So that way I give it a constant blend throughout the song, and it makes it sit well. Instead of having to like pull the reverb down in volume, I just pulled out that frequency range so the reverb can stay loud but still be in the background, and and let the lead vocal take the stage. So yeah, and then I have so that's how I did the reverb on the lead vocal. It's the exact same thing because these tracks. So for example, let me see here.
Can't fade away, wanna smile but I can't feel my face. I be lost in a daze.
It's a weird effect I did there, but here for these. Oh, so I didn't even put. Wow. Oh, okay. Here's another thing. So I did a delay. I won't go deep into delay, but as you can expect, it's literally just a copy. Same exact strategy. I copy it over, and then with the de-esser, I smooth it out so the S's are not in the way. And then it's just a delay plugin, which takes the copy of the vocal and then just delays it by a certain time in the song. So, and then it echoes in the background. So instead of putting reverb straight on the lead vocal right here, I only put reverb. I wanted this to be up front more. So instead of putting reverb on it, I wanted it to be like aggressive. So if the more reverb I put on it, the more it'll soften it. So I didn't put any reverb, but what I did to keep it spacey was I had the delay to keep it echoey, and then on the delay track, all of the delays that were occurring right here. So that would happen, but then I would add a reverb to the delays. So the delays themselves, as they're echoing, have reverb on them.
Oh wow.
So that's like the trick I use to keep it spacey without like taking away the aggressiveness of the actual dry vocal.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah. So if here, let me shut that off real quick. All right. So now that's how it was, but if I turn it all the way up, you can like really hear it. See how like now they're all reverbed out.
Mm-hmm.
If I turned it down, though, that's like back where it was. So that's just the trick. That's another trick I use with delay, utilizing reverb on delays, not just like the lead stuff, just putting the delay on your lead vocal, putting it on everything, and taking advantage of that is those taking advantage of like the routing here with the sends and things like that. You can get creative with the way you send things and when you use certain tricks like that. So those are two ways you can use a reverb to really. You can either use it as a direct copy of the original, or you can use it as a copy of an effect and reverb just the effect, which is a thing that I discovered on YouTube when I was first starting, and it like changed the way I mixed for a while. So yeah.
It's really
Any
cool.
other questions you have?
Yeah, just one. I don't know if this has anything to do with it. Might just be kind of a side piece, but I was curious as to, like you say, S's have certain higher frequencies, like that S sound. Are there any other like like vowel or consonant sounds that have that. Like I've realized when I just with recording podcasts, like, you know, the reason why you have a pop filter is for those P's and T's, like when those very breathy, when you're pushing out like that breath, like the P and the T, like they tend to pop, and then you get like that. So is there like a is that kind of the same rule of thumb with T's and P's and even K's potentially, or is it more? Yeah.
So de-essers aren't just for don't just do S's. Basically, what they are is multi-band compression. So
Okay.
in a gist, compression when a part of the voice gets, or not a part of it, when the vocal gets too loud. So you set a threshold, and if the vocal gets too loud, it pulls it down.
Okay.
That's what a compressor is. Now, a de-esser is a special type of compressor where it only focuses on a certain frequency. So you can set it. So this one I have, it's between 5 kilohertz and 14 kilohertz, because so I can do Audition and it'll literally solo that range for me. It sounds like garbage. Hold on. Hold up. Okay, I'll pull the range. That way it's not de-essing at all, so you can hear. So like the word smile.
Yes, I heard it.
That's like, that sharp area is like horrible, because like that like really ruins the smoothness of the vocal.
Exactly.
And like and it like makes it poke out when you don't want it to. It's horrible. So I'll de-ess that area, and it will then
fade away. Wanna smile, but I can't feel my face. Every day that I wake, I'm okay, but
so yeah, that's basically it. But it doesn't just do S's. It just does anything in that frequency range. So F's like can't fade like that.
Mm-hmm.
Like that stuff. Like a lot of T's live in that area. And as far as B's and P's for even for podcast purposes, like you say, you have the pop filter. Another thing I always do, as you can see, is everything below 85 I usually cut. So I take a low cut and pull it up to 85, because if I play the vocal here, that's where all your plosives live, like the B's, like all that stuff. The air is hitting the mic. That's why I use the pop filter, like, and it like makes that like bassy sound.
Yes.
So to double down on the pop filter, you also want to cut down all this stuff, because all this stuff is like you hitting your microphone, or like
Exactly.
stuff. And it's the same thing with the reverb. Back to the reverb, like I have that extra filter down here because I just put a plugin on that's like doing all this affecting on it. So I want to make sure that none of this stuff down here gets put back in with the reverb, because then it's going to muddy up the bottom. It's going to build up, because it might not seem like a lot with this one vocal, but I also have a beat that has a ton of bass in it. I have harmonies in the background that also might have bass if I don't take it out. So like cutting out all those big bass frequencies in those vocals is very important, because they build up and will then make the song sound very messy.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, no, so I was just curious, because like when I was just starting, and it's funny because I even now when I edit my own audio, I can actually see, that's so funny, I just said I actually see where the ums are. Like I can actually look at the frequency and be like, oh, there's an I'm going to cut that. Like I can see it before it even comes up. It's really interesting.
Yeah. So like when you look on the waveform, that's how I feel with S's too. Like Logic isn't really good for it, because they're not very detailed, but in Pro Tools it's a lot more detailed, the waveforms. So like when I was working at the studio, I would be able to tell what's a breath based on the shape, because it would be shaped like a teardrop, like on both sides. So it'd be like this, and then open up and go and smooth back out. And it's the same thing with S's. Like S's are like zigzags kind of, because they're such sharp, intense sounds that they aren't smooth like that. So yeah, that's like when you start to work with effects and things like that, like taking care of of the quality of the effect, because like I can just slap reverb on, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to sound spacey. It might just sound
Right.
like garbage, it might just sound like it's washed out. In order to make it sound spacey, not only do you need the right volume, just using your ears, which is like, you can't really go wrong with the volume because it's an artistic thing. But when it comes to things like this, it's like an SC reverb never sounds good.
Mhm.
And like having like all this this low frequency rumble in all your vocals, like building up like that, never makes the track improves the track. So it's like those are like basic rules of thumb that I do. And then for tricks is the reverbing the delays, like
That
I
was
did
cool.
here.
Yeah, that wasn't something I thought would be, as you were going through it, that would be something that you would do. But I mean, it makes sense, honestly, now that you the way in which you put it.
It's like I never thought of it either when I started, and then like just from watching YouTube videos, some guy,
Right.
and I was like, oh, that's genius. So
Cool, man.
yeah. So yeah, I mean that basically wraps it up. I mean, oh,
Great.
and then this intro part right here. Let me see here.
So passionate, but is it worth it? All these thoughts in my mind, and I don't think I'll see the 30. These visions blurry. It's 2020, but I can't see.
That's a different reverb I used. It's the same plugin, but instead I used a different. I don't even know.
Hall C1.
Yeah, I just went through until it sounded good. It's 477 milliseconds instead of 2 seconds, so it's super short. So that's why it sounds like small. And then I kept the pre-delay was the exact same, but yeah. And then I just sent that. I sent that, and then essentially did the exact same thing. Yeah, I just copy and pasted these two plugins, and then just changed the reverb plugin to make it a different sound. So because I was doing the telephone effect,
So passionate, but
so I wanted it to sound like it was like extra bad. So like that bathroom sound, like that's the sound I'm talking about. Like
so passionate.
those small reverbs sound like bathrooms. So I wanted
Yes.
to go for that sound, and that ended up working for that part. And then I switched over to a big spacey reverb to like go from like really like lo-fi, um, like bad quality, quote unquote, and it like opens up into like the full frequency spectrum, like super wide, super bass clarity, and like that's what really made the drop what it was, like right here.
The mirror
Then
curtsies.
that vocal comes in, like when it goes
Mm.
from the telephone to that, like switching those reverbs was crucial for me. So yeah, so that's pretty much it.
Awesome. That was great, Hex. Thank you so much for that. So we've had EQ vocals, we've had reverb. I think we mentioned a little bit of compression in this episode, so maybe compression can be the next one.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Now that I did that little spiel, you probably a little
Good. Yeah, perfect. Good little segue into our next episode 3 will definitely be on compression, no doubt. So, but yeah, no, that was great. Thank you so much for that, and I hope that anybody that was listening to this episode that it helped you in some way, shape, or form with your own practice with mixing, mastering, sound engineering, producing, whatever it is you are working on with your sound quality. I hope that this definitely helps, and that these tips are helping. Drop us a comment on YouTube or drop us a comment on Instagram on this post. Let us know what other skills you want to learn about and that Hex could potentially take us through. Because I think it would be great to have some say with some of our fans and audience that are actually utilizing these. What is it that you want to learn? So basically, drop us a comment. Hex is going to tell you guys where to follow him, and he has his own service as well, mixing and mastering. So take it away, sir.
Yes. So ITS H3x on Instagram is my main artist page. It's where I really post everything about my music and stuff like that. I have another Instagram page which is mixed by H3x, and it's basically where like I'll do all of my consulting for services and stuff like that for mixing, and occasionally I post some tips on there too. And then my YouTube channel, I don't know if I plugged this last time, but it's Hex TV, so H3X TV. I do like breakdowns and like how to mix your vocals, like the Kid Leroy or like Post Malone or stuff like that. So it's very similar to the setup here, where with a screen share and stuff like that, and I get to walk through my process. And then on Twitter, it's also ITS H3x, and yeah, that's pretty much it.
Thanks so much, guys, for being here. Thank you, Hex, especially. And we will be back with more mixing tips as well. We'll link everything he's talking about in the description. So his YouTube channel, his artist page, as well as his mixing service page. So you guys can utilize that to the best of your ability, or as much as you need to. And yeah, so thank you again. As always, Hex, we appreciate your time. And thank you guys to the listeners. Let us know. Like I said, drop us a comment. What do you want to learn about? And yeah, until next time, I'm Mike, and this is Hex with the Turntable Teachers, and class is officially dismissed.
Turntable teachers.